Before the game begins, choose one of the 6 available regions. Next, carefully select a deity, 3 unique champions, and 9 portal cards from that same region. Once you've made your choices, build your deck around them. Your deck must consist of exactly 40 cards, all from the region you've selected. To set up the game, place your playmat opposite your opponents, forming 3 battlefields between you. Effects played within a particular battlefield only affect the cards in that specific battlefield. The ultimate goal? Lower your opponent's deity's faith to 0. Now let's go over the basic rules and the different card types. Deity cards. Each player controls one deity that determines the amount of faith you start with and provides you with an additional effect and the condition that must be met to empower your champions. This card is placed in the deity zone. Portal cards. Portals are a crucial part of the game. Opening a portal costs a certain amount of life force indicated on the back of the card. After opening a portal, immediately decrease the opponent's faith by the amount stated in the top right corner. Portals grant you access to a range of powerful effects. Each player chooses 9 unique portals, dividing them into 3 equal piles. These are placed in the portal zones between 2 opposing champions. Ally cards. Allies can be used in 2 ways, face up in the ally zone or face down in the rearguard zone. In the ally zone, only the regular effect box of allies is relevant, and their rearguard effect box is not considered. Allies in this zone can also use their life force to open a portal. Face down in the rearguard zone, however, allies cannot contribute to opening a portal. In that zone, only their rearguard box is relevant. Their regular effect box is not considered. More on opening portals and using allies as rearguard later. Champion cards. When using a champion, you can engage in combat and activate their effect if they have one. This doesn't have to be consecutive. Yet this comes with a stamina cost, which is gained at the start of each turn and by playing specific cards. Champions can be empowered during gameplay, which can enhance their strength and effectiveness on the battlefield. How you can empower champions depends on the deity you've chosen. Each player chooses 3 champions to start the game. These are placed in the corresponding zones. Equipment cards. Each champion is limited to only 1 piece of equipment. The equipment must be placed in the designated equipment slot beneath the champion card, and only that champion can receive the benefits of that equipment. Action cards. Action cards grant temporary effects and are moved to the discard pile after resolving them. Divine intervention cards. These cards can be used at any time during the game, but cost 1 faith to play. They let you destroy 1 card, exhaust 1 ally, or close 1 portal. However, after playing it, it cannot be used again. Place the 2 Divine Intervention cards face down under your deity. Now that we've covered the different card types, let's dive deeper into the ally and rearguard zones and learn the basics of opening portals and engaging in combat. The ally zone consists of 2 subzones, the deploy and charge zone. Allies must be played in the deploy zone, known as deploying, with a limit of 2 allies per deploy zone per turn. At the start of your turn, allies in the deploy zone move to the charge zone, known as charging, and can activate charge effects if they have any. There is no limit to the number of allies in the charge zone. Note that allies from both the deploy and charge zone can be used to open a portal. To open a portal, the combined life force of the allies beneath it must match or exceed that portal's cost. After opening a portal, flip the used allies to indicate that these are exhausted and cannot be used anymore. Exhausted allies are sent to the discard pile at the end of the turn. Non-used allies remain unaffected. Open portals stay in place until closed. Opening a new portal closes and replaces the old one. Closed portals are returned to the bottom of its respective pile, ready to be used again in the future. Now let's talk about rearguards in combat. The rearguard zone serves a dual purpose. Firstly, you can play allies face down to use their rearguard effects or modifiers. Keep in mind that once a rearguard effect is activated, that card is immediately sent to the discard pile. Secondly, other cards may also be played face down in this zone, serving as an archive for unused cards, since unused rearguards can be returned to your hand at the start of your turn. It's important to note that only allies can be activated from the rearguard. Rearguards also play a crucial role during combat. Let's elaborate. When attacking an enemy champion, the difference between your attack and the enemy champion's defense is dealt as damage to your opponent's faith. If your attack is lower than your opponent's defense, then you will lose faith instead. These stats can be enhanced by equipment, but also with rearguard modifiers. To engage in combat, a few conditions must be met. First, the portal in front of the champion must be open. Second, the champion must pay its stamina cost or have already paid it earlier in the turn. Keep in mind that only the opposing champion can be attacked. Let's look at an example. We engage in combat with our champion, who has a base attack of 1, boosted to 2 with equipment. The opposing champion has a base defense of 0, which is increased to 1 with their equipment. The defender, who always has the first choice, chooses to use their rearguard's defense modifier to elevate their champion's defense to 3. Next, the attacker chooses to use their rearguard's attack modifier to boost their champion's attack to 4. Finally, the damage calculation is made based on these modified stats. The attack of 4 exceeds the defense of 3, resulting in 1 point of damage dealt to the opponent's faith. Activated rearguards are sent to the discard pile. Now that you've learned the key mechanics, let's move on to the final step, the turn order. Each turn begins with the preparation phase, where you charge your allies, return any unused rearguards to your hand, and gain stamina. This is tracked using a mobile counter. Next is the action phase. During this phase, you can play cards from your hand, activate effects on your battlefields, open as many portals as you can, and activate each champion once, as long as you have enough stamina. You can do all of these actions in any order. Following that is the cleanup phase, where all exhausted allies are placed in their respective discard piles. At the end of your turn, you must draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. This is mandatory. If a player cannot draw cards due to an empty deck, they automatically lose the game. You're now ready to start your first game of Portals and Champions. Place your deity, divine interventions, champions, and portal piles in their designated zones, and position your playmat facing your opponents. Set your starting faith to match your deity's value and your stamina to 0. Finally, both players draw 5 cards. The starting player cannot attack during their first turn, but is allowed to open portals. Enjoy the game.